Hey everyone, welcome to the 8th episode of Developing TodoDock. In the last episode, we added a new feature to let the users take notes on their tasks, and we were also supporting Markdown, as you can see. Since the last episode, I went ahead and made minor tweaks. So as you can see, we now have an empty state. And whenever you click it, the input opens up, and when you save it, you see the Markdown renderer. So we have 3 states. Let me actually show you. Yeah, this is the first state. We have a form, and we have a text area inside it. This is when we are in edit mode. And then we have the Markdown renderer. So whenever we have actually some notes, so our notes are not empty, we show the render. And if we are not in the edit mode, but we have empty notes, just like here, then we show that thing, this one. So we're going to add some Jest tests for this. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm going to copy this test and call it Task Notes Editor. All right, so let me just update the name. What I want to test here is that, first of all, I want to make sure that we can switch between those 3 states, like form, renderer, and the initial empty state. So what I'm going to name this is should be able to switch between states. All right. Then let me open my component here. As you can see, we are not needing, we don't need any stores. Also, we don't need any router. By the way, it looks like this is redundant. This makes it easier to test. We can just render our component. Our component takes 3 parameters: notes, set notes, and submit. These 2 are callbacks. First of all, I'm going to pass an empty notes string. So this is going to be an empty string, and this is going to be notes. Set notes and submit are going to be callbacks for now. Yeah, mock callbacks. Functions. Okay, so what I want to make sure now is that I can see this div here, the task notes empty div. And also, I don't want to see this component, and I don't want to see the form. Actually, we can make these separate test cases. So I'm gonna rename this as should see the empty state if there are no nodes. Okay. We have to use container. We have to use the query selector function from the container. So the empty state, I'm going to call it empty state, is equal to query container query selector, and we have to give the class name, which is this. First of all, we have to make sure that, let me comment these out. We have to make sure that this is visible. And also, something I've been thinking from the start of the video is, how can I make sure that this is not visible? Because, let me show you from the developer tools actually. This thing doesn't have any specific class name. Like, you can see that we have an empty form, and this is also problematic. Let me first of all fix that. I love writing tests. Like, I don't love the actual process of writing tests, but I love how I can find bugs while writing tests, even like not after the tests are capturing the bugs, but while I'm writing tests. So this condition should have been one level above, because there's no need to render a form if we are not going to render this text area, right? Now, if we take a look again, we should see that we only have this header, which is this, and like, we have the editor body, but we don't have a wrapper for all these markdown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a class name and call this task notes markdown. Now we should have a wrapper around the markdown. Let me verify. Yeah, we have the body, and under that we have the markdown, and then we have all the like content. So now I can make another query just like the one above. We can call this markdown, and we can call this task notes markdown. Of course, this is now going to be not to be in the document. Similarly, I want to just query the form. This is now not a class, just an HTML element, because there isn't any other form. This is safe, I suppose. And this is also shouldn't be in the document. Now I can go ahead and npm test t task notes. Hopefully this is gonna pass. And if this passes, yeah, nice. If this passes, I'm just going to replicate this test case, and like this time, let's make sure that we can see the form, right? I mean, no. Let's make sure that we can see the markdown renderer, because it's easier. Also, these are not needed, nor these. Okay. Instead of passing like an empty string here, I'm gonna pass. Oh, actually, let's pass an actual. Yeah, let's pass an actual markdown syntax, and also make sure that we can. What I mean is, let me show by an example. Like this is a header. It has like it's conforming to the markdown syntax, so it has 2 or 3, I don't remember, not hyphens, but what was that, like this sign, I completely forgot what this is called. Hash, yeah, this is hash. Okay, it has, as you can see, 2 hashes. That's why our renderer renders this as an h2, and precisely because it has 2 hashes. Anyway, so similarly, this also appears inside a strong tag, and this italic appears. Wait a second. Yeah, as you can see, M. This is inside. So if we pass like legitimate syntax here, we can also query for those special tags and see, make sure that the Markdown render itself also works, not just the wrapper is visible. I hope that was clear. So instead of like passing ABC here, let me Markdown, actually content, I'm going to call it content, is equal to, like, let's give it a header. Also bold, italic. What else? Let's give let's create an unordered list. So 1. I think this is enough for now. Like, it's very unlikely that our render can render titles, bold text, italic text, and unordered lists, but it can't render for some reason the other syntax. So this should be enough. And let's pass it here, content. And first thing we want to do is, just like above, we want to, first of all, query every possible container. So empty state shouldn't be visible, right? Because it's not empty. Markdown should be visible, and form shouldn't be visible. The first thing we want to make sure is this works right now. And after, we want to query those things. Like, first of all, let's query an H2. Let's make this H1. By the way, this failed. Oh, I by mistake reverted that. I shouldn't have touched that. Anyway, what I was saying is, do we have any other H1s? We shouldn't have, right? Because this is not an header. This is the only thing that is a header is this one, and this is H3. So I know that this is going to be a kind of fragile test, but like whatever, it's better than nothing, right? By fragile, I mean if I ever decide to make this also an H2 and this is also H2, even if this is not being rendered, my selector could have selected this and assume that this is working and so on. Anyway, let's worry about that later, not now. Okay, so header, let's copy this, oops, and query for H1. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to see how much information can I print from this result using JSON Stringify. Because if I can somehow see the content, like if I can see this text as well, I can make this test less fragile. Because instead of just asserting the existence of this, I can also check the content and make sure it matches this one. Where's my terminal? I can't. Circular structure to JSON. So what I like to do in those cases. Whoops, what happened? What I like to do is just get the keys from the object and see if there's something I can use. Come on. By the way, I'm sure if you have watched it, I'm sure you noticed that a large portion of the previous episode I wasted a lot of time because of a typo I made, and I didn't even realize throughout the video. I just realized after. I made a typo here. It should have been text area, but it was like this, and I was trying to find why it isn't working. Anyway, okay, so we can we were able to print the keys, but I don't know if we can use this. I doubt it. I'm still going to try. There can also another approach. I can make two queries, like one for the h1 and one for the text, and see if they are equal. The objects are equal. Actually, let me header by element, or let's call it type, by text. And in order to do that, I have to use this. Get by text, and I'm gonna call it header. Undefined. Yeah, let's just try do we have expect? I'm gonna have to query assert equals. Also, we can just assert equals expect this equals. What is this? I just want to can I do this? I really get frustrated when I can't find a thing as simple as this when I first search for something. Like, it should be very easy to find a simple equals. What is received? Is not a function. Surprise. Does it have an equals function? Okay, let me search for sort two queries are equal. Maybe To equal. Do we have something like that? To equal. Hopefully. All right. By the way, to make sure that this is not a false positive, I want to try something that I know should fail. Like, if this fails, I can't trust this assertion. Okay, great. All right, actually it says deep equality, so I think it's good enough. And just a tweak. I'm going to define those as constants so that I can reuse them. Bold, italic. I don't know how I'm supposed to. I guess I'm gonna have to rely on the UL existence of a UL element. Right, so I can do something like this. Actually, let me call this header text. Also call these bold text. All right. Also, like, of course, we have to expect to be in the document, right? We might not need this because if this didn't exist, they could be both null and to be equal. I don't know. I'm just gonna add this just to be safe, like check header, and similarly check bold and italic. Bold by type by text. So instead of H1, we should look for strong. And here we should look for M. By type. Right, we can get rid of those. And let's make sure that this works. After making sure that this works, I want to try to somehow check this unordered list. Okay, it passed. Now let's go ahead and add another assertion, check unordered list. So maybe we can use a contains or something like that, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. It's probably possible, but I don't want this video to be too long. All right, so list to be in the document. That's all. Yeah, this is already pretty good right now. And the next thing I want to add, like the next test case, is for the form. Should switch to form, right? To form upon click. Did this pass? It did. Okay. So let's start with this simple case. We have an empty content, but we have to use fire event. We don't need this. Okay, now fire event, click. I'm gonna have to click the main container, and it's called task nodes editor, because even if I click this, it enters the editor mode. Task nodes editor. Okay. Main area. We already made sure that it's not visible here. Okay, it wasn't visible, and instead this was visible. Now we have to revert that expectations. So this should not be visible, and this should be visible once we click, right? Let's see if it works. So it should break if I comment this out. Nice. All right, so okay, I'm gonna create two test cases for this. One for switching from the empty state, switch the form from empty state upon click, and the next is should switch the form from Markdown state upon click. Why did I copy and paste that? I could just, yeah. Just a dummy Markdown. And yeah, this should be true in this case as well. Also, I want to make sure that this is visible. Yeah, take some notes. I want to make sure I can see that text, and I have to add it here. Text get by text. What was it called? Take some notes. To be in the document. Okay. Let me run this one last time, and we should be good to go. Actually, we have to also add. Wow, why? Get by, okay. It's not a function of container. It has to be like that. I was saying we also have to add API endpoint and dusk tests, but let's not do it in this video because this has already been too long, right? So thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.